friends, and welcome back to the My Slice of Life podcast. I'm Sharon O'Neill, and this is the start of a new season. I did tell you it was going to be completely different. So this season is called From Random to Rants. You may well be wondering what that means. Well, I'm going to be bringing a pretty random gang of topics to you, but don't let that put you off. I have some mini rants, I have some relaxation, I have information, I have questions. And for the first time ever on this podcast, for at least one episode, I have a very special guest. So grab a cuppa, hit follow or whatever you have, get comfy, and we'll dive right in. This week, I want to get some things off my chest about Christmas. This time of year is really busy for all of us, and I want to start this off right by saying I love Christmas, okay? So the questions I have and the mini rant I might well end up having, it isn't anything negative about Christmas. I love it. But there are a couple of things which irk me, get on my nerves, you know? So I thought I'd bring them up and talk to you about them and see if I'm the only one or if you're feeling and noticing the same sorts of things. I had thought that I was just feeling older when I noticed this first one, you know, the whole time flying by sort of thing. But I do need to ask, with regards to Christmas, does it have to start so bloomin' early? Don't get me wrong, right? I love shopping, or these days just wandering around the shops aimlessly, complaining and tutting about the prices. But since when did Christmas shopping start so early? I know you've noticed it too. It's earlier and earlier every year. And I now know it's not just me getting older, because our son has noticed it as well. Now, for years, people have complained about Christmas becoming over-commercialised, and I think that's part of it. But when you walk into a store and they have Halloween decorations in one aisle and Santa's on the aisle opposite, something's wrong with that. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who doesn't like that. Is it just me, or does that feel wrong somehow? And I'm not going to open up the can of worms labelled Christmas, pagan, Yule, because I know this time of year it means different things to different people. I mean, for me personally, it's Christmas, 100%, and it's special to me and my family. But whether you're a Yule person or whatever label you put on this time of year, if you put one on it at all, how do you feel when you see Rudolph and Beetlejuice on the same shelf at the same time? And here's something else that bothers me, right, while I'm on the commercial side of things. I can't stand how the shops rush us through the year. Right, if you start at Halloween, for example, you get all your spooky stuff, right? Then, as I was saying, before that's even finished, the Christmas goodies are out. Shelf upon shelf of cakes, sweets, chocolate. Then what happens on Christmas Eve? All the diet and keep fit stuff comes out. It's like they go from stuff yourself silly to, hey fatty, come exercise. What the heck's that all about? And I don't know about where you live, but see here in Scotland, beside all that exercise stuff, we have our hogmanay items. That's New Year's Eve, if you didn't know, and apparently that means whiskey and shortbread, or vodka and shortbread, or gin and shortbread. I mean, you get the idea. I mean, don't worry, though, because if that's not your thing, they also put out iron brew and Tunnocks tea cakes. Apparently that's all we eat, is cakes, shortbread, and drink weird tasting juice or alcohol. That's it. And something you might not know, actually, is that while the rest of the world takes the 1st of January off as a holiday, well, here, we get the 2nd of January off as a holiday too. I'll leave you to work out why, but the shortbread might be responsible for a lot of things. But anyway, no sooner have the yoga mats and shortbread tins been brought out, they're replaced by red hearts and more chocolate. Then beside them we get the Easter eggs, and then we're all whisked away in our summer holiday with sunglasses and sunscreen. No sooner have you picked up a shiny new suitcase that you don't even need, then the kids' school uniforms are back, and that must be the difficult part for retailers here. There's nothing going on here between August and October. We don't have Labour Day or anything else like that. So maybe that's why the Halloween stuff comes out so early, then we're back to square one. I'm noticing all things pumpkin are now making an appearance here in about September, and that's a pretty new thing for us. But do you know what I mean? Do you see where I'm going with this? We're raced through all these things, and instead of being able to enjoy them and have the proper build-up and the excitement, by the time the actual day comes round, we're sick of seeing this stuff. However, with all that being said, I'm not going to let it put me off my enjoyment of Christmas. But I do wonder about atheists, though. I mean, if they don't believe in anything, what do they do at this time of year? Do they still give presents? Do they send cards? And see, if they do, what do they call them? I mean, surely it can't be Christmas presents or Christmas cards or Yuletide greetings, can it? Because that all implies a belief in something. I mean, I'm genuinely interested. It's something I've always wondered about, but I've never known who to ask. I get that people like getting presents. It just seems weird to me that people would join in with something that goes against their principles. I don't know, help me out here if you can, because I'm pretty sure other religions don't bother with presents and cards and mince pies and that, and I'll get very confused about it all if I think about it for too long. Actually, I've been watching a few videos on YouTube that I have found quite interesting. One was explaining the whole Yule thing from a Scandinavian perspective, which was pretty good, but the one I really liked was called Victorian Christmas Traditions. It's Sarah Beanie's Rise Hall Christmas. It's a documentary thing. It shows the way Christmas was spent through different time periods, like the Georgians, the Victorians and so on, and the food they would have eaten, what sort of presents they would give, the traditions, all that sort of stuff. It was really interesting. I'll put a link to it in the notes if you fancy watching it. It really put me in the festive mood when I watched it, so I think you'd enjoy it. Another thing I also found was an album. It was on YouTube again, but it was an album we used to listen to as kids. It's a Christmas one, Walt Disney's Christmas Favourites, and it's from 1958. I'm going to put a link to that as well in the notes. I've listened to it several times already this year, and I'll tell you, it takes me back. Not to 1958, I'm not that old, but we did listen to it on a record player, and I can still hear the scratchy sounds when when I'm listening to it on YouTube, and I can still feel that excitement about Christmas, and I just love it. Isn't it amazing how music can do that to you and really take you back years to a situation? I find that fascinating how music can do that. And smells, but I can't smell YouTube. You know what I mean? But here's something which seems to happen to everyone at Christmas. We all start baking. Have you done any yet? Because I bet you have. Well, I had to go at making a Christmas cake, and I haven't done one for years. In fact, I think I've only made one before, and that was when I lived alone in my first place, and it was an experience. I followed a recipe. I'm not sure which one it was now, but it was a pretty big cake, and I stuck it in the oven and cooked it for the time that it said, This was the day when I would follow recipes to the letter. And I had a gas cook at the time. That's a story for another day. But when I took the cake out, it wasn't anywhere near done. Right? Well, the top was nearly overdone and the bottom was nearly raw. So I took it out the cake tin, turned it upside down and stuck it back in the oven for a while. You'd think that would sort it out, wouldn't you? I mean, logic would say that would fix it. But do you know how long I had to keep doing this for? 3 days. 3 days to get that flipping cake sorted. It wasn't even that good in the end. Anyway, I saw a nice man on YouTube showing a simple recipe for a Christmas cake, and I thought, that looks easy enough, I'll give it a go. Printed out the recipe, got all my things together, started happily mixing up my cake. In my happy place, got the music going, getting the vibe in the kitchen. Brilliant. Our son comes in to help and chat and really get into the spirit of things, We're chatting, having a good laugh, he's helping out, mixing this bit and that bit. And I got to the bit when I'd poured in the brandy, we kept talking. So it wasn't until I got to putting the cake in the oven, I read over the recipe, checking all the instructions, and that's when I saw I was meant to put in half the brandy, and you use the other half to feed the cake in the run up to Christmas. Do I need to tell you how much of the brandy I poured into the cake? If you just guessed all of it, you would be right. I mean, okay, it wasn't the whole bottle, it was just 100 mils, but it was only meant to be 50 mils that went into the recipe, and 50 mils for feeding it later on. So apparently I'm going to have a very moist cake, which is meant to be a good thing. Although between you and me, right, I have wondered about feeding it a bit more, if I'm honest. What would you do? Boozy cake, Christmas? I'm tempted. I know I've left it a bit late, but I'm still tempted. How long does it need to soak in? Don't know. Anyway, while I'm talking about making your own cake, can I make a request? I've been thinking about this a lot, and I would like to make a request. Can we please get back to making more of our own presents and cards and all that good stuff? I mean, I used to do it a lot, but not so much now. In the past, I've spent hours making stuff and not got as much as a thank you. But I would love nothing more than to get a hamper full of things that someone has made for me. Have you ever had that? mean, what do you think of the idea? Does it sound alright to you? I think it sounds great. I just think there's so much buying and shopping and money where Christmas is concerned. I would really like us to put the brakes on, turn the clock back a little and bring back real and true appreciation for someone's efforts. Handmade, homemade, DIY, whatever term you want to give it. Can we have more of that, please? Can we bring that back? And you know what really gets me when it comes to this sort of stuff? The shops sell kits of things people can make and then pass off as if they made it all themselves and didn't just buy a kit. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? At least some effort has been put in, but could we just cut out the middleman and do it ourselves? Just imagine this, right? A Christmas where your house has decorations hung up that you made, cards strung on a piece of string, but all the cards are handmade, they're unique and have been made just for you. Hampers of homemade jams and chutneys, body creams, cookies, throw in a pair of knitted socks or gloves, plants or home-saved seeds, a painting someone actually did themselves. Can you picture it? And if you can, does it appeal to you? Because I'll tell you, it really appeals to me. And when you think about it, there's a lot of options with this idea. Surely we can all make something. Maybe if there was more of that, our kids and just people in general would learn that that's normal. That is what Christmas is about. Thinking of others, spending time to make things for others and looking forward to handing it over, knowing we put effort into our gifts. Maybe that's a tradition we can bring back. And just maybe, in the future, panic buying on eBay or fighting over overpriced plastic crap in the shop will be a thing of the past. I doubt it, but, I can dream. And see if you do still make things for people at Christmas. Let me know what sort of gifts you make, please. Leave me a wee comment. Give me some hope that it still happens. And who knows, maybe you'll inspire someone else to give it a go too. And one more thing that I want to bring up, which is related to the previous one, but I'm looking at Christmas trees. Can we please turn the clock back there too? Can we forget those Instagram dress to impress, colour-coordinated statement things? Can we? I'll tell you, our tree looks like a rainbow threw up all over it, and I love it. There are all different colours, there's handmade decorations, I've got a little bear there that I knitted. There's also knitted crackers and that sort of thing. Not expensive, not trendy, but they come out every year and we like them. Our son appreciates them and knows I spent time making those things so our family tree will look just right for us. Do you have anything like that? Any family decoration heirlooms that get put on the tree year after year, passed down from one generation to the next? Because I love that idea. Can we have more of that, please, and less of my colour scheme this year is sky blue and burn your eyes out white? I've never been a big fan of that. And all of that brings me to the one big thing I wanted to remind you of today. That Christmas is nearly upon us and we have been bombarded with images, reels, shorts, adverts, you name it, all showing us the perfect Christmas, piling on that pressure and adding that familiar feeling of stress that our Christmas has to be just like that, it has to be perfect. It doesn't, it won't be, and that's okay. In fact, that's brilliant because your family Christmas will be your family's Christmas. So please don't add pressure onto yourself that you really don't need. Go easy on yourself and those around you, especially when you see them getting stressed. Remind them perfection only happens in the movies. Have fun, relax, enjoy yourself, and have a very Merry Christmas. I'll be thinking of you as I sip my homemade dandelion wine. Right, that's it for this week. I am off to make some more mince pies. Oh, and a wee tip for you, by the way, if you're doing some too. Don't butter the baking tray. Sprinkle flour into the wee segments and your mince pies will just slip out of that tray nice and easy. You're welcome. And with that, I would like to say thank you for listening this week and spending some of your precious time with me. I really do appreciate it. And don't forget to join me next week for another topic from Random to Rants. But until then, you take care of your wee self.
Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho.